to my channel. As semi-promised, if you guys watch my vlogs, this is going to be the first episode in my adulting series. I kind of wanted to make this series as a way to, I guess, relay information that I would have wanted as a young adult, you know, someone coming from 18 up to where I am now, which is 25. This first video is probably going to be my favorite out of the whole series, besides a select other few. Something exciting I do want to say in conjunction with the videos, I have a new blog post as well as a new video every single week. I actually made my own website, and I feel like the blogs are going to be a way for me to express myself through writing. So it's kind of going to be a recollection of the video, as well as if you don't want to actually watch the video and you're more into reading, that's going to be for you. I had to take them off. I have no makeup on today. This is a great video. So this is kind of a new space. I am in my office right now. I will potentially insert a clip here for the kind of tour. It's not big. I mean, it's not tiny, but it's not big. My backdrop is questionable at best. The color I wanted was more of like a deep emerald green, which I think I fucking nailed it, spot on. The color is amazing. But when I tell you guys the process is to get here, that's a whole nother video. We've been here now for about 2 or 3 weeks, actually 3 weeks. Next week will be a month. So we've been here for about 3 weeks. And when I say it's been fucking crazy, it's fucking crazy. And let me tell you, yes, I do have an episode coming on becoming homeowners. It is wild. The amount of crap they don't tell you. Wild. Anyways, as you can tell by the title, this video is going to be about owning pets. And currently I am surrounded by my pets. I've got my cat Polo here, Popey. He will probably jump in and out as we go. I've got Goobs behind the camera. Her name is Gooberton. Don't ask me how she received that name. I think I was at the shelter with her, and I remember walking up to the kennel she was in, and I was like, wow, you're such a goober. And from there, it's been Goobs. Popes, his actual name is Apollo. We just call him Popes. I don't know how he also got that name, because we used to just call him Apollo. But now it's Popey's, Popey Boy, all the things. My dog is over here in the hallway. She's currently cooling herself on the hardwood. Her name is Theo. It's short for Theodora, which is one of the characters off of The Haunting of Hill House. That's how she got her name. And then my other one right now, I was gonna say, I don't think you can hear him. Boy, if you knock that over, let me tell you, when he knocks things over, ridiculous. My biggest boy, my oldest one, he is 16 pounds, I think they said. He's an orange tabby. His name is Yoshi because I love Mario. The whole world of Mario, like Mario Kart, Mario World, Mario, you know, Nintendo 64, like all the old Mario games on the Nintendo 64, it's my shit. Mario and Luigi, Luigi's Mansion, all that. So that's how he got his name. As I was making the outline for this video, this is gonna be long. It's probably gonna have to be cut into two or three different parts, because my outline is already 3 pages, and it's like the things come to me. So I've had animals now for 6 years. I've had pets. All different kinds of pets. I've had guinea pigs, I've had fish, cats, dogs. I really haven't dove into the world of like exotic pets, what I really want to. We're thinking about maybe in the future getting like a ball python or a bearded dragon. Haven't gone into that world yet. That would be a really exciting world to jump into, but I haven't quite yet. We also thought about maybe getting a few pet rats at some point. Again, in the future. The good thing is we own our own home now, so no one can really be like, no, you can't have that. Which is gonna be bad for us because we are very impulsive creatures. So, to start this video off, let me just get adjusted here, and everybody take a seat. Get your favorite snack, get your favorite drink. Mine currently is the Big K caffeine-free Diet Cola. So that's my drink of choice. Right now I would pick water, but this is a spicy one. We're gonna need something a little stronger than water. Not that pop is strong, but you get the gist of it. Okay, let's dive into what we have to talk about here. Now, I understand being 18. Okay, I was once 18. It feels like a lifetime ago. It was about, oh my God, I'm gonna be 26. So it was about 8 years ago that I was 18, right? First thing I wanted to do was move out of my house. That's a whole nother episode we're gonna talk about as well. Moving out of the house. What was the second thing I wanted to do? I am an animal lover. I've always wanted my own pets, always. And I've only ever been able to have fish. When my mom and my stepdad finally bought their house that they're in now, we were able to get a few dogs. So I kind of, for at least a few years, 2 or 3 years, I was able to experience what it was like living with at least an older dog. Not exactly a puppy, but an older dog. So 2 of them to be exact. And by the time I moved out, they had 3 dogs, and it was just a whole thing. The thing with my mom is that she's very, very, very allergic to cats. Like, not so much anymore as she used to be, but that's why we never had cats growing up. And we also rented a duplex for a very long time. So we were not able to have, like, we couldn't just go and get a pet, you know what I mean? You had to get it approved and all that. I would say the first thing when looking into a pet, doesn't matter how old you are. You could literally be 60 getting your first pet. Look at your lifestyle, okay? I'll say this from experience. Between 18 and 25 is a fucking hectic time. It's crazy. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. Trying to pick a college you want to go to. Do you want to move out and live with friends? Do you want to move out on your own? Can you afford to move out? Can you still work while, you know, going to college? Again, all these things are going to be addressed in later episodes, but you have to mesh that all together, right? So you have to know, are you home a lot? Are you on the go a lot? Do you want a companion that can go with you? Do you want a companion that's more independent? Do you want a companion that maybe needs a little bit of work as opposed to like a ton of interaction? That's the first thing you need to really think about. Are you going to school full-time? Do you have a full-time job outside of school full-time? I know when I was 18, I was going to school from anywhere from 8 in the morning till about maybe even 1 or 2. Some days it was even later than that because of the classes I had labs during the afternoon. And then on top of that, on the days when I didn't have labs and I was only in class till say noon or 1, I was then also going to work until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I was out of the house from 8 in the morning till almost 11 o'clock at night, most times. Most times all I had was time to come home, change my clothes, get right back in the car, maybe grab a snack, head out to work. When I got Yoshi, he was my first. We got him in June of 2015. He was about 2-ish months old when we got him. He was the cutest little thing. I'll see if I can find the pictures. Fucking adorable. We loved him from the moment we saw him. I had to have him. I knew he was my boy. The reason I got the cat is because they're very, very, very independent creatures. They will do anything and everything by themselves. You really don't have to play with them. It's very cute when you do play with them. Sorry, gotta get him off my computer. Playing with them is very cute, especially when they're young and they have so much energy. You have to get all the toys and all the things, right, to keep them entertained. Now, unlike puppies, kittens are almost, I would say from my experience, almost innately born with the ability to be litter box trained fairly easily. After you kind of chosen your lifestyle, like how you think it's gonna go, it doesn't always just have to be right in the moment either. Think about your lifestyle, how it's gonna be a year from now, how it's gonna be different 2 years from now. However long you need to think ahead, do it, because I swear it'll be the lifesaver for you, okay? Because what you wanna do, at least for me, I know myself, you need to think about not only the lifestyle, but also the amount of work you're willing to put in. Because, at least for me, puppies are cute, right? Every baby animal is cute until you bring it home and now you're solely responsible for that cute little bundle of, I don't know if we want to say joy quite yet, but you're responsible for that animal. Whether you want to put in a lot of work, whether you want to put in moderate amount of work, whether you want it to be very low maintenance, that is on you. That is what you, maybe you and a partner, you and your family got to come up with, and be honest with yourself. Yes, it may be devastating that a puppy is very cute and oh, you said you found the perfect one, oh, you're gonna make the time. If you're not fully committed, it will never work, no matter how hard you try, and it's gonna drive you nuts. So just take that into account. Okay, so once you have kind of gotten the lifestyle, you know, nailed down as far as what your personal lifestyle looks like, and you have nailed down how much effort you want to put into an animal, then you kind of need to figure out, okay, well, what animal? What are you, you know, what are you gonna get? My top choice for me, because I know myself, is a cat. Cats are very independent creatures. They're not super loners. My 3 get along very, very well. I used to have a 4th, but sadly we had to rehome her. That's a whole thing for later on in the video that we'll retouch on, but I used to have 4 cats, and now I have 3, and they just literally, all they do is sleep and play a little bit and cuddle, and it's like the best thing ever. We recently had last year in February, we got our first dog, and sadly about 9 months after we got her, so in November of last year, exactly 9 months on the day, we picked her up February 8th and she passed away on November 8th. We think it was due to cancer. They couldn't really find anything too much on her blood work. A lot of tests done. It was kind of a sudden thing, but again, something we'll get into later in the video when it comes to talking about like veterinarians and all of that stuff. That was our first dog. And then about a month later, I always knew I wanted a lot of animals, whether that's, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more cats or another dog. I knew I wanted another animal. So that's where we found Theo. She was being sold by a lady on Facebook who had intentions on breeding her, but for some reason she wanted to rehome her. We picked her up December 6th, I think it was, and we paid like $80 for her. We lucked out though, because a month later in January, it was Pitbull month at the local veterinarians around town, and when it's Pitbull month, a sponsor will come in and pay for a bunch of spay and neuters of the Pitbull breed. And so we got her spayed for like $10. We lucked out on that. That was like, we lucked out. She's been with us for 7 months. She is still very, very much baby. We got her when she was 4. The vet thinks she was maybe around 4-ish months. She turns a year old, like 4 to 5 months. So she turns a year old this month. Let me tell you, dogs are a lot, okay? Especially puppies. With the lady we got her from said she was kennel trained, house trained, all of that. No, she was not. She came to us, she knew what a kennel was. She didn't enjoy her kennel. She didn't really respond to the name the lady had given her, so we just took that as an opportunity to give her a different name. And she was not potty trained, at least not fully. She kind of knew to go outside, but that was like, no, it was like non-existent. So for us, we kind of got the luck of the draw, because at that point I was in a position of work where I could come home on my lunch breaks. So I would be at work from 8 to noon. I'd come home from about noon to 1. I'd be able to let her out and then, you know, go on with my day. And then he comes home my boyfriend comes home at 4, right around 4:30, 4:40 every day. And so then he's able to let her out, and just, you know, it worked out for us at least. Apart from cats and dogs, I've really owned a few fish. I don't really know too much specifically about fish. One thing I will say, it doesn't matter what pet you're getting. Do your research. You may think you know because maybe your family had dogs or your family had cats or something like that, but I guarantee owning one and living with them like through a family setting is completely different. It is 100% just way different, like once you are the actual owner. So let's see, I've got my whole outline here. Next thing, I guess the next topic I would say is very important is, are you going to adopt or are you going through a breeder? It may sound a little weird being like, you get your cat through a breeder. Yes, there are plenty of breed specific breeders for different types of cats. There's like ragdolls, there's the Maine Coons, they're like the big cats that have the M on them. There's Sphinx cats, there's Bengal cats, there's all sorts of different types of cats that you can go through a breeder to get. Obviously, most people know with dogs, you can go through, you basically find any breeder of a specific type of dog and get it. We were potentially looking at maybe adding another dog to our pack. So we were thinking maybe either a Newfoundland or a Great Dane, or maybe something more medium sized, like a Husky or something like that. But when I say please do your research on the breeders, please do your research. Ask and see if you can find, maybe they have a Facebook page and you can find reviews. You can go and have conversations with people who have bought from them, because that is going to be the most important thing. My thing with a breeder that I have found, if we ever decide to go with a breeder, is going to be, what do they offer you as a new pet parent? So from what I understand, a good breeder is going to offer you a health guarantee, whether that be for a year or 2 years, on any kind of congenital, any kind of health problems that may arise within the dog that are genetic. So usually the time is about a year or 2 years at most. I think I've seen maybe 3 years at most at one point from a breeder. But that's gonna be the first thing, the health guarantee. Then they're gonna, you need to look for, is that breeder going to support you for the lifetime of that dog? Should anything happen to your situation to where you cannot take care of that dog, are they going to be there to take that dog back in and rehome it elsewhere? That's a very important thing that everybody needs to look for, so that these dogs are not ending up in the shelters. I'm not saying shelters are bad in any way, because I used to work in one. I know I've seen, the dogs and stuff that have come in, but you need to be aware, does my breeder offer that lifelong support? So even in 10 years, if something happens to me or something happens to my situation, can I call them up? Can I email them up and say, hey, this is no longer working out for me and it really sucks, but can you take in, my dog, can you take him back and rehome him with a new family? That is something that definitely needs to be written in the contract of when you are getting from a breeder. Okay, so another thing a lot of breeders are going to offer you is a going home package. Whether that be, the food, they're most likely going to send you with the food that they've been giving your puppy, so that you can transition them onto whatever food you want to give them. That's a good thing to look for. Some of them, I've noticed different levels. Some will send you home with a blanket that smells like mom, so that they can get used to the transition of not being with mom anymore. Some will give you treats. Some will give you, poop bags. Very important. Some, then you'll get the paperwork. You have to always make sure the paperwork's in there, get a copy of everything, any contracts you sign, anything like that. Vet records, the health guarantee in writing, get that, get the health check guarantee from your vet, get the vet records of when they got their shots and dewormers and whatever else they needed while in the care of that breeder. That is very important to have. You're going to want to keep that around in a safe place just in case anything is to ever happen. Always get it in writing and always have a copy of it, because you should both have a copy of it anyways. Oh, another thing that I have seen some people like dog breeders on TikTok do is they actually offer different training packages for your puppy before your puppy even leaves for home. So usually you pick up a puppy around 8 weeks. That's when it's safe for them to be away from their mom. That's when they're just coming off and being weaned and being able to start on solid foods, you know, kind of like, it's almost like a mush is really what it is. But something that I've seen is that breeders will offer, hey, do you want to keep your puppy here for, say, an additional 4 weeks, pick them up when they're 12 weeks old, but we'll have them trained, you know, we'll have them potty trained, we'll have them kennel trained, name trained, and do some basic obedience commands. Some offer that, a very select few will offer that, but if they do offer it, that's great. That way it can kind of take the stress off of you. I mean, yes, you have to wait a little bit longer to see your puppy, but they can already have them ready to go in your home and make it the easiest transition possible for you once you bring that puppy back home with you, if that makes sense. The next thing I would say, I think the most important thing from any breeder, make sure they care about their dogs, especially the ones that they're actually breeding. Go to their homes if possible. I know in, you know, COVID times, it may not be as possible. Whether you do like a virtual visit, whether you do an in-home visit, make sure you're seeing the conditions of which their actual breeding pairs are living in. This is a very big, you know, red flag if they're not being treated well. So you need to make sure your puppy is coming from a very ethical place, an ethical breeder just that knows their stuff and actually truly cares for the dogs that they are breeding and the puppies that they are rehoming. That's a big one. Cause some problems. I'm not against getting older cats if you're in a situation where maybe they're the only cat, maybe you only have like one other cat, because things can happen, and when cats fight, it's not pretty. And it doesn't sound pretty, and it doesn't end up pretty, and it's just not, it's not overall pretty. Pricing wise, with a breeder, it's really breed specific. There have been breeders where I've wanted to go get a Great Dane, and the one that I want specifically, maybe around $1,800. I would say you're probably going to be looking between $1,000 up to $10,000, between $1,000 and $10,000, depending on what kind of dog you get and what their line looks like, what line, you know, what the coloring is, and yada yada yada. That's kind of what you're looking at as far as that. Adoption obviously is going to be much less. The most that I think I've ever seen at, like, at least from a rescue or a humane society, was maybe like $300 for a puppy. So yes, that's also a lot, but the thing is, you have to remember, a lot, they're not going, at least the ones around here, they don't send out dogs or puppies or kittens or adult cats who are not fixed. They don't send them out without just basic shots and any medications they may require for any medical attention they have received while in the shelter. So on one hand, you're pretty much, you're spending, say you get a puppy, the puppies around here are usually between $200 to $250 for a dog that's under 6 months old. 6 months and up, they consider an adult technically. Say you're spending $250 on a puppy, well, you just saved so much money, because you now don't have to go take it to get surgery, which can be upwards of like $400, depending on if it's a spay or neuter. You don't have to do any of that. They already have their shots, at least their first round of shots. Puppies obviously need multiple series of shots. You know, they're giving you the paperwork you need. The dogs are usually microchipped. Any puppy, dog, kitten, cat is going to be microchipped, and that has your information on it once you adopt the animal. And pretty much it's really dependent on the Humane Society what they really send the dog home with. The ones around here, you basically get the dog and you get the paperwork, and maybe you get like a discount for like a tag or a leash or a new collar or something like that. But that's going to be about the pricing. So for adult dogs around here, at least, it's about $150 to $180. The only thing that I can say that I have found with adopting a dog from a shelter, whether it be a puppy or whether it be an adult dog. We got our first pit bull, the one who passed away, we got her from the shelter not too far away from us, and she was 100, I believe is what we paid, 99. And it said she had lived with cats, said she lived with dogs, she was potty trained and all that. She was potty trained. She did have an issue with cats at first when we brought her home, obviously because they're new cats. This is their territory. They're going to tell her what's right and what's wrong, pretty much. Cats are very quick to tell dogs what is right and what is wrong by swatting them on the face. So she had many a scratch on the face from my 2 biggest cats. But really after the first, I would say 4 months is when she really settled in. So especially with older dogs, you're gonna have a break-in period of, I would say roughly that I've noticed between maybe 3 and 4 months is when they feel truly settled in your home. And you just got to give it time. Like it's like the most hurry up and wait kind of thing, because you want them to be comfortable. You want them to know this is their home. They're not going anywhere. This is where they're going to live from the rest of their life. Just that kind of situation. But you also have to give them their time and their space to navigate the home, you know, really etch out places that they want to hang out in, who they want to hang out with, all that kind of fun stuff. Something I've noticed on the dog side of TikTok that I don't think gets talked about nearly enough, coming from a person who literally worked at a shelter for a good 5 months, shelters are not going to tell you the 100 whole complete truth about a dog. Do they do this to be deceitful? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's meant to be like some kind of harmful thing. It's not meant to be like, oh, we're gonna manipulate you into getting this dog and this dog's gonna go kill one of your cats. It's not to do it out of spite or to be harmful to the adoptive families. Why I think they do this? They don't know. So I specifically worked in the admissions department for a shelter that was close, and it's in a different town. But I worked for the admissions department. And when I tell you the amount of times people would come in, bring their dogs in and be like, oh, wow, you know, he's so friendly and he's so, you know, this and yada, yada, yada. Oh, but he's killed a cat. Oh, but he pees in the house occasionally. Sometimes they don't even tell you that. Those are the good owners that will say, hey, you know, he's super friendly around dogs. He kind of grew up around cats, you know, but you know, if you leave him in the kennel for too long, he gets a little crazy. He's an escape artist. Oh, he likes to jump fences. Whatever it may be. Those are the good ones. Those are the ones you hope and pray will come into the shelter, and when a dog is being, you know, relinquished to our care, those are the kinds of humans you hope will walk into your shelter. How many of them do that? Not a whole lot. I'm not saying it's, you know, impossible to get someone that does that. I'm just saying it's few and far between. So at the shelter I worked at most shelters, I would assume, you have a survey to fill out, right, about the animal you're bringing in. Their name, we weigh them, well, we did weigh them there, and then it asks you a whole list of like characteristics. Why are you giving up the dog? Or cat? Have they bitten anybody? Are they spayed or neutered? Have they scratched anybody and drawn blood? Bitten anybody and drawn blood? What kind of food? Who was their vet? Are they up to date on shots? Where did you originally acquire them from? That kind of stuff. Those are the kinds of questions that are going to be asked when you bring an animal into the shelter, okay? And not everybody is going to be honest about it. Not everybody is going to be super forthcoming. They're not going to tell you all the flaws of that animal. They're not gonna, like, they're gonna try to make it sound the best that it possibly can sound, just so that the next, you know, it'll potentially help it get adopted. This is something horrifying because we're gonna find out the truth, and it just makes that person who relinquished the animal just look bad, honestly. Like, it's not a good look. It's not a good look when you bring an animal in, some family adopts the animal, brings it back and says, hey, it bit one of my kids for no reason. Or, you know, we couldn't keep it because it wasn't house trained like they said it was. If on the off chance you're watching this and you need to rehome an animal and you're thinking about going through a shelter, which it's an iffy if I recommend it or not. I would recommend it, especially if the animal needs its shots or needs spayed or neutered. But if you're thinking about it, please, 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 please tell the truth, the whole truth. Do not leave out something just because it makes the animal look bad. Unless it's out attacking people unprovoked, most of the time we're gonna take it in. Unless the shelter is just completely at capacity, they will take that animal in as long as it has not bitten anybody in the past 10 days and drawn blood. That is it. Well, at least at some of them. That's usually it. And if they don't have any quarantine room, usually they're gonna take the animal. Just don't, for the love of God, do not lie if you have to rehome an animal. So the good thing is about adoption though, is that you get to meet with the animal before just agreeing to take it home. Breeders, yes, I believe most of them you can still meet with the animal. You get to pick out your animal. A lot of times you'll get to pick out which puppy you want based on the coloring you choose, and then you'll get, I think, one more visit after that to, you know, get to interact with your puppy before you actually bring them home and see what they're like. That's another good thing about breeding from an ethical breeder. Let me reiterate that. Not a backyard breeder who's just breeding animals to sell for $50, $100, $150 a pop just because they need some kind of income and they're not actually doing anything about, you know, to help with the animals after and all that, yeah. So adoption wise, you do get to meet with the animal. Usually you have about a 10-15 minute visit, and it's kind of a way for you to get to know the animal. It kind of sucks because you're not in a home environment. Usually you're in a small room where there's chairs lining the walls, and it's concrete floor. If you're lucky and it's nice outside, they sometimes maybe will let you go out to the play yards and visit with that animal. I mean, you can visit with them as long as you want, but I would say after about 15 minutes, you know whether or not you are taking home that animal or not. Get a feel for how they play. I feel like play is going to be the most telling, at least for a dog. Cats, I mean, what is there to harp on cats? You know what I mean? I'm just the crazy cat lady. You can tell pretty quickly whether that cat is going to be a cat that is friendly and cuddly or a cat that's very standoffish and very independent. It takes all of about 10 seconds. I know with all my cats, when I visited them in the shelter, when I worked there, at least before, when I got Apollo, I was working at the shelter. So I was able to visit and play with him every day. He was there, and he was there for about 3 or 4 days because he had to get surgery. And then he also had 2 other siblings that he was with. The girl of the trio got adopted first, and then there was 2 boys. And my friend said, you need to adopt this cat. He's got 2 different colored eyes. He's gonna be beautiful when he grows up. Get him. So I did. And yeah, that's how I got Polo. But with all my others, they were very cuddly. They jumped right up into my lap. They wanted to be held. They wanted to be petted, cuddled. They just wanted to be with you. And that's how I knew that I wanted these cats, because I didn't want a cat that was like super, super independent, didn't want anything to do with me, could care less about me. That's not the kind of person I am. I want my cats to interact with me, essentially. And within about the first 5 minutes, that I was taking my cats home. I don't think there's ever been a point, except for a few times I can think of, where I've ever disliked owning cats, but it wasn't anything too crazy, if that makes sense. Really, it's up to you, okay? Don't let somebody make you feel bad if you want to go with a breeder instead of a shelter. I get it, like, whether it's a cat or a dog breeder, whatever kind of animal you go with, don't let someone make you feel guilty if that's what you decide to do. I don't see anything wrong. As long as they're an ethical breeder, they're there to support you and the animal for the lifetime of that animal. I see nothing wrong with that. It's an investment. Going with a breeder is definitely an investment. However, you do get the guarantee of knowing that they haven't come from like an abusive background, or you know their history, is what I'm trying to say. Most adoptable dogs, especially the adult, you have no idea what that animal's history is, and it can be very frightening if you learn like they don't like women, or they don't like men, or, you know, they don't like children, or whatever it may be. Maybe they don't like thunderstorms, and maybe they, you know, whatever it is. You don't know that because you didn't raise that dog, or you didn't raise that cat. And so it's always questionable when it comes to the adoption of animals. That's where you have to be cautious. I mean, a lot of times it works out, but there have been times where people have brought their animals back in after just adopting them a day or 2 later, you know, telling us that they attacked the resident dog, or they didn't like whatever, and the family couldn't handle it. Just keep that in mind. Don't let anybody let you feel guilty, make you feel guilty, okay? That's not what we want here. It's a guilt-free zone, okay? Oh, one last thing I'm probably gonna put in this part of the video is that if you are adopting, please, 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 please make sure you can do a dog-to-dog introduction with your dog and the new dog. So bring your dog to meet the new dog at that place, because it's a very neutral territory. The adoption center and the play yards that they're in, it's very neutral territory, so that the two dogs can meet instead of you just randomly bringing home a dog and your resident dog is like, well, okay, what the fuck? Who is this? It's probably one of the very, very most important things is learning how to integrate a dog or a cat, like a new dog or a cat, into your home, but especially dogs. Dogs can be very picky creatures, okay? Having a neutral territory where they can both meet, that's not the resident dog's already, home, is getting them used to them, like getting them used to each other. So say you don't even go through an adoption or breeder. Say you go through a group off of like Facebook or something, right? And you bought this dog or this puppy. The best thing you can do is take it to, I would say, like an open field, maybe like a baseball field, whatever the case, somewhere neutral. I wouldn't say a dog park necessarily, because especially if other dogs aren't trained, that's a whole, we'll do that in another part on my views on that. Definitely go to a neutral space. Anywhere open that's not the resident dog's place of residence. You have no idea whether a dog is dominant or submissive until they can interact with other dogs. So that's another level to it. You have to know whether your dog is submissive or dominant, and then you need to go kind of off of that. You really want to try to not get a dominant dog if you can. I'm definitely going to do the research before putting up the part of the video that has that in it, which is probably going to be the next part. I feel like two submissive dogs can really coexist very well together, whereas if you have a more dominant dog and a very submissive dog, that can work as long as your submissive dog doesn't piss off your dominant dog. My old pitty, Hennessy, the one who passed away, she was very, very dominant. So there was no way in hell we were going to bring in another dog to this situation, especially on the off chance that we adopted another dominant dog. The only way that we could have even potentially done that, if that, in the safest way possible, is to bring in a puppy and have him, grow up with her. But she was 6 years old and she was very set in her ways. She loved, just having the cats around. And really anytime we interacted with another dog, she would try to go after it, like putting it out there. She was very dog aggressive. Now, I don't think the, dog aggressive dogs can't interact with other dogs, but I mean, that's a whole nother, if you hear that, that's my cats. But she was very dog aggressive. So it's gonna be you have to be selective when getting an animal. And especially if you already have animals, that's the thing. You have to take their well-being into account as well. So if it doesn't work out with them, you have to put them first. Even though you may want this puppy, or you may want this cat or kitten or older dog, whatever it may be, whatever you may want, if it's not like, I would say if it's not something in a cage, like, a lizard or an amphibian or like a hedgehog or a guinea pig, you have to put their well-being first because they were there first. I think that's where I'm gonna leave off. My throat is starting to hurt a little bit from talking for what I feel like is forever, but there's definitely gonna be a part two. Part two to this episode is gonna be all the things like, okay, now you've chosen an animal. It's gonna be the supplies you need, how to pick a veterinarian, training, really all of that stuff I'm definitely going to talk about in the next part. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.